Well, this last pattern that you're going to tie brings back a lot of memories because Mr. Caddis, Gary LaFontaine, and I know that you knew Gary, and we miss him a lot.
Absolutely.
And he taught us a different way of looking at caddis. In fact, he made caddis, I think, as a fly fisherman's fly. They were always kind of the back seat of the bus when Gary kind of pushed them forward. They're such an intricate part of our fishing, and they're on lakes, aren't they?
Absolutely. There's numerous species of caddis on lakes, and this particular pattern, the Stillwater Caddis Pupa, it imitates the bigger species of Limnophilidae, case builders you see in lakes. And while a lot of anglers associate caddis with instant or fast action on surface, there's a lot more trout eating the pupa because it's a lot safer to eat them at 12, 15 feet than sticking their nose up and getting attacked by an osprey or another predator.
And I think, too, once they hit the waters, we all know they leave, and they leave in a hurry.
That's right.
And the only time that you're going to encounter them again is when they come back to lay their eggs in the water. And many times, that's at night.
That's right. Exactly.
Or late in the evening, and we're gone.
Most of us are gone.
Not all of us. I like to fish at night. But in the case, too, they're dead. They're flat on the water, and they're hard to see. But this is a great thing, and you can use this with a combination of two fly systems and all kinds of ways to fish a caddis pupa.
Absolutely, yeah. They're very active swimmers when they swim up through the water column in a lake, and so they expose themselves for a fair length of time, and again, subsurface.
Well, let's take a look at the last fly, the Stillwater Caddis Pupa.
Sounds great.
Some of the best dry fly fishing you'll have on still waters are when the caddis flies are emerging or hatching. Prior to that, though, the pupa are swimming quickly to the surface of the lake, and it's in that stage that the trout really do gorge on them because it's safer for the trout to feed deeper in the water column on the pupa than it is to expose themselves to predators when they're near the surface of the lake. So I'm going to show you how to tie the Stillwater Caddis Pupa. It represents the largest of the caddis that we see in western still waters, the Limnophilidae. You just have to vary the size and coloration to match the caddis pupa that you find in your local still waters. We're going to start off with a number 10 3X long shanked streamer hook. I'm using 6/0 dark brown tying thread. I formed a base on the shank of the hook. The body of this fly is going to be Stillwater Solutions dark olive soft blend dubbing material. The rib of this fly is going to be Stillwater Solutions mid-stretch floss in the Chiabras green coloration. So I'm going to start tying the fly by, first of all, tying in our mid-stretch floss ribbing of the Chiabras green. That's a very prominent ribbed coloration you'll see through the large Limnophilidae caddis we'll find in our waters. I'm then going to put a bit of dubbing wax on the thread, and I'm going to take the dark olive soft blend and put some dubbing onto the thread. So now we're going to take the dubbing and we're going to build a bit of a tapered body. Up to the thorax area of the fly. Thin it out a little bit here. And that's the beauty of working with this soft blend. You can make it thicker or thinner just by, it's a soft material, just by pulling at it. And you get the desired taper you want. So now we've got the body of the fly done. Just trim off the excess. And we're going to take our ribbing now and wind it through the body. Again, a very prominent rib that you'll see in a lot of caddis in lake-dwelling species. And we're going to tie in some legs using some ringneck pheasant rump fibers. Caddis have elongated pair of hind legs, feathered, almost paddle-shaped, and they can really swim quickly through the water. And so we want to be able to imitate those legs. And they're going to be fairly long. They're about the length. They're going to extend just past the bend of the hook. I'm going to pull some fibers off the rump feather again and apply them to the other side of the fly. So, and then we can trim the butt sections off now. Now we're going to do the shell back now is light olive dyed pheasant tail as well. And this is another Stillwater Solutions product. We're going to take some of those, trim those off the feather. And this is going to form the shell back on top like that. And that eventually we'll pull that over to finish the fly off. Just want to make sure I got the right distance. There we go. Now we're going to put a little bit of peacock herl on to form the thorax. So, and then I'm going to take a little bit of, so this diamond wing fiber we'll use as a throat, and why we want that in there is to imitate a little bit of a gas bubble as these pupa, as they're swimming up through the water column, are also trapping a bit of air, just like the chironomids do or midges do, to help them pop out when they get to the surface of the lake. So this is just going to add a little bit of flash. We don't need too much, like so. Want that just right under there. There we go. We'll tie that off. And then we're going to grab all our shell back fibers, pull that over. Finish the fly off. So, and then I'm just going to add just another peacock curl to finish the head off. And that'll do it. So we're going to be fishing this fly ideally with either floating lines and a long leader. Remember, the pupa are swimming on about a 20-degree angle to the surface of the lake. So floating line, but even better, will be the intermediate or slow sinking line, where you allow the fly to sink close to the bottom by doing a countdown method, and then stripping it back in 6 to 8 inch, fairly quick strips right up to the surface of the lake. And that's what that's how the real insects are swimming through the water. There, we got a bit of a head. And we'll just finish the fly off and with a whip finish. So, and then we're just going to make sure we've got everything looking good here. Trim off a little bit too long on the throat there. And there we have the finished Stillwater Caddis Pupa. And we'll just have a look at it, give you an idea of body proportions. And there we go. Caddisflies or sedges provide some of the greatest dry fly fishing you'll find in still waters. It's those big caddis that the pupa swims up to the surface of the lake, the adult crawls out of the shuck, scampers across the surface of the water, and you get these explosive strikes from really aggressively feeding fish. So we can get some great dry fly fishing with adult caddis patterns using things like Goddard sedges, Bicolec sedges, Tom Thumbs, patterns like that. What's more important though is to have a good pupal pattern, the caddis pupa pattern, the pupa that's swimming from the bottom of the lake to the surface lake to hatch. That's why we tied the Stillwater caddis. The mature caddis pupa breaks out of the old caddis larvae tube at the bottom of the lake that's been sitting at the bottom of the shoal or the littoral zone, breaks out of that tube, or the old case, and then quickly swims to the surface of the lake. We want to imitate that swim with like an intermediate or slow sinking line, casting out as far as we can, letting the caddis pupal pattern sink to the bottom, and then we're doing 4 to 8 inch, fairly quick strip retrieves, bringing that fly right to the surface of the lake. We can also use a full floating line, a long leader, and a caddis pupa pattern and imitate that same retrieve up through the water column. So I'm just going to make a cast out here, and I'm going to demonstrate the retrieve. We've cast out with our clear intermediate sinking line, waiting for the line to sig down to the bottom of the shoal. Once we get down there, we're going to be doing these nice, steady 4 to 8 inch strips. And that's how fast the real pupa is swimming to the surface of the lake. I'd like to review some of the more common mistakes that I've seen.